You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Legal analysts mock thin-skinned conservative justice based on an article by Sarah K. Barres. The court's fragility is not personal. It is political. A dissent becomes the story. The week's headline grabber is a bench-side dispute between Justices Samuel Alito and Sonia Sotomayor, after Sotomayor read a forceful dissent from the bench, and the court later issued a statement calling it a misunderstanding. The surrounding commentary fixated on Alito's ego, Sotomayor's tone, and a stray retirement rumor. That is the easy story. The real story is who is using the court to take power, and who gets shouldered when they name it. Power sits with the majority. The institutional power here is not with Sotomayor, and it is not with the podcast commentators performing outrage over bad manners. The power sits with the conservative bloc that has spent years converting judicial control into policy destruction. According to the source, Alito is seen as a justice who believes this is his moment, part of a project to dismantle rights while the court still has the votes to do it. That is the center of gravity. Everything else is atmosphere. When a justice with that kind of leverage reacts badly to a dissent, the issue is not hurt feelings. It is the expectation that the people being stripped of rights should do so quietly. The decorum trap. The source keeps circling decorum, as if the central offense is that Sotomayor read too much of her dissent aloud. That framing is convenient because it relocates attention from substance to style. It turns an ideological power move into a personality clash. That is misdirection. A justice accused of heartlessness does not get to hide behind etiquette when the court's decisions are actively reducing human dignity. The complaint that Sotomayor made Alito look bad is not a neutral procedural concern. It is a demand for deference from the person doing the harm. Smiling while rights shrink. The source's sharpest insight is accidental. Roberts is described as polite while taking away rights, while Alito is framed as louder and thinner-skinned. That contrast matters. It shows how institutional cruelty often presents itself in different packaging. One judge performs the soft-spoken manager, another performs the aggrieved enforcer. The result is the same. This is why the focus on courtroom etiquette is so weak. The court's problem is not that one conservative justice failed to absorb criticism gracefully. It is that the majority has normalized a system where rights can be dismantled from the bench, then wrapped in procedural respectability. Politeness does not sanitize the outcome. Retirement rumor as power gossip. The speculation about Alito and Clarence Thomas retiring, and the reference to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's failure to step aside during a Democratic presidency, reveals another layer of court politics, and not law but timing, succession, and factional control. The justices are not described as deciding cases in a vacuum. They are described as playing for institutional permanence. That is not a side note. It is the real machinery. The bench is treated as a strategic prize, one that can be protected by staying put, passed along by timing, and used to lock in a reactionary legal order. The retirement chatter matters only because it shows how much of the court's behavior is shaped by preservation of power, not judicial principle. The pen. This story is not about one thin-skinned justice. It is about an institution that has learned to shield power by converting substantive conflict into manners policing. The weaker actor is asked to stay quiet. The stronger actor gets to call that silence professionalism. That is the patent. Deliberate harm recast as misunderstanding, domination recast as procedure, and accountability recast as bad tone. The court does not just issue rulings. It manufactures a language that makes those rulings sound less brutal than they are. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternate for today's article. With the automated voice of John, thanks for listening.